So what is a trellis for the soul all about? I suppose a trellis for the soul is about a lifestyle choice, a way of living, and it's based on values. And I suppose a trellis for the soul really comes into its own in terms of its importance in a time of crisis or challenge. And we could see times of limitation or challenge or crisis as an invitation to dig deeper than external circumstances. And in fact, new research in positive psychology and the science of well-being and so on tells us that very little of our life fulfillment or happiness comes from external circumstances or opportunities. In fact, just 10%. Which is very, very low. But about 40% is attributable to the practices that we commit to, the habits that we commit to, the beliefs and so on. 40% is quite high. It tells us that we can absolutely change internal circumstances and therefore our level of fulfillment by 40%. It's called the 40% solution. So I suppose a trellis for the soul is built on that 40% solution. It's saying that we can cultivate a way of life, a way of being, a way of seeing, and commit to practices that directly correlate with well-being. And we're talking here well-being not just as a kind of a be happy, but spiritual well-being. So Viktor Frankl, that most people are aware of, the author of Man's Search for Meaning, says that it's the last of the human freedoms, that no matter what people can take away from us, they can't take away this freedom to choose our way, he says, to choose a way of life. So Trellis for the Soul is about that. It's about choosing a way of life. And the idea of trellis comes from the monastic rule of life. So it's not about having a to-do list. In fact, it's more about a to-be list and a to-become list. And it's about building in practices that give us stability, balance, ease, meaning, purpose, transcendence, and imbuing ordinary life with meaning and transcendence. And so we're talking here about this rule of life or pattern for living based on values. In other words, putting what matters most to us at the centre. And that's what is involved in monastic rule of life as well. So when we talk about values, we're not talking about values kind of just inherited values or imposed values. We're talking about values that we reflect on deeply. Values that are based on what is really essential to our quality of life. And then we're talking about making small little steps in the direction of those values. And that's what Trellis for the Soul program is all about. Creating small little steps in the direction of our values. So you might notice, I certainly notice, maybe habits of procrastination or habits of instant gratification or habits of just maybe choosing the easy route and yet not having any sense of joy. And in those times we can ask ourselves, what am I moving away from here? And what value am I moving away from? And what one small step might help me to move towards that value, towards a sense of aliveness and congruence and wholeness. So of course we need, when we're choosing our values, to respect our age, our limitations and so on. But we always have what Viktor Frankl calls the freedom to choose, the last of the human freedoms. And we could ask ourselves some questions that would help us, to know what our values are. For example, you could ask yourself, what are you doing or what are you committing to when you are feeling fully alive? when you're firing on all cylinders? And likewise, what are you doing or what is happening when you're drained, when you're losing energy? When do you feel a sense of inner peace? And what happens for you when you sell out on your values? So when we're following values, we're stretching the comfort zone, taking those small steps towards growth, towards wholeness, stretching the comfort zone. And this needs to be broken down into daily and weekly little practices and habits. I suppose high on those list of habits that raise our sense of wellness are gratitude, sending blessings, practicing noticing what we're grateful for, and habits that raise that kind of vibrational level to the sense of the divine purpose of our lives. The Celtic Christians had practices every day for these habits of gratitude and blessings. The morning lorica was what they started the day with, wrapping the shield of blessing around them. And they had these blessings, as we said, for land, crops, journeys, every journey, and so on, so that their daily lives were imbued with awareness of the spiritual. So simple rituals can be built into every day. When waiting in a queue, when having to keep maybe social distance with people, even when putting on a mask or taking off a mask, when washing hands, when powering up the computer, and so on. All of these little practices on a daily basis, we can introduce meditative pauses, as the Celtic Christians did, and we can bless these ordinary moments. So Trellis for the Soul is about introducing a way of life, having Sabbath spaces, having pauses for rest, having pauses for blessing, for giving gratitude, for doing what the Celtic Christians and the desert fathers and mothers did, for becoming more aware of our caring for creation, becoming more aware of our interconnection and community. And Trellis for the Soul is about building in those small little practices. So may you be blessed, may we all be blessed in this journey of building a trellis for the soul.